Alright guys, it's Filter. Gonna show you basically how to do a no-slope controller. A lot of people have been asking for me to keep doing them. I just don't have the time anymore, to be honest. So I figured, why not show you guys how to do it yourselves? If you're still having trouble, you can message me on YouTube, you can message me on the forum. I'll try and help you, but to be honest, it's pretty self-explanatory what I'm going to tell you right now. So, brand new wired controller. Gonna bust it out the box. Some scissors. Oh. Basically, I'm just going to show you from start to finish how to do it. Now, you will need the screwdrivers necessary to open up a wired controller. If it's a wireless controller, it's going to be different. It's going to need a Torx 8H, I believe. You don't necessarily need the H one if you have like another flathead screwdriver like this one. If you have a flathead screwdriver, you can actually snap the H part of the screw. It's essentially a little pin, and you can just snap it and use a regular Torx 8. So if you have something like that, we'll do that a bit easier. Ooh, there we go. If you have one of those, you can use that to snap the pin inside the screw, and that allows you 2 seconds to use, oh, not that one of these, which is a Torx. It's got a pattern like a star to it, but no hole for the pin to slot into. And it's a lot cheaper as well. The H1s can be a bit expensive. It's essentially a security screw. So, let's see. I've got a 0x50 screwdriver. It's just a regular crosshead. And gonna bosh this bad boy open. Of course, you've got your screws that you can physically see in those holes. You've also got one behind this bit here. Right. I'll fast forward this bit. Alright, so screws took out. See if I can show you how to do this without making a mess. Ooh, hold on. Let's put that down a little bit more. Ah! Brilliant. So, you've got pretty much all the screws out of it. Just want to turn it over like so, on its back, hold it down. Excuse my knee. Because everything will fall out of here if you don't do this, by the way. You have to hold it facing down. This bit just pops off. Got your vibrating pads just hanging out. Just put that over there. I'll show you how to take those out in a second. So you're left with this bit here. Now, be very careful. You don't want to accidentally tip it over and have everything fall out. I mean, the worst possible scenarios for all the bits and pieces to fly all over the floor and you'll probably lose like a button or something. So, in an area where you can see everything, do this. Now it's empty. So, here's the tricky part. You want to make sure that you cut away or sand away. Now, let's move this up a little bit. My hair is just getting chopped off. There we go. Oh. Excellent, right. So, the bit that causes slow turn is essentially this case here. On a wireless controller, it actually is a little bit closer to the pad, so the sticks can protrude to the amount that you need to, which of course allows it to work as it's supposed to, essentially. So this here is the fault. It's the entire controller really, but this is the main thing that you can fix. So what you need to do, you need to cut away a certain part of it. use a ruler to measure. Okay, you want to measure the diameter. Make sure that it is 2 centimeters. Then you wanted to mark an extra 1 or 2 millimeters onto it. Not using a black pen, by the way. Any pen, pencil, whatever. Just mark on an extra 1 millimeter on each side. Okay? Now, depending on what sticks you put inside the controller, you might want to take off 2 to 2.5 millimeters in total. That's the whole circle, basically, the whole diameter, not each side, just in total. But if you're just using the standard sticks, which I'm guessing most of you will be, just take off 2 millimeters. So, either using, now I do warn you, be careful with this bit here. You can either use sandpaper, which takes a long time from the start, or you can cut off the majority of it with scissors. Okay? Now you need really sharp scissors or something equally sharp. I don't really want to delve too much into that. There are tools that you can buy, but I've always used these. I'm that used to doing it now, it's just second nature. So I'm going to sit here. Probably it takes about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to cut away a big chunk of it. And then what we'll do is we'll use sandpaper to smooth it down, because it's going to be pretty rough from scratching out all this plastic with the scissors. So cut back after I've done this. You also want to make sure that you're making it as even as possible. Okay, so do about a quarter of the circle each time, and make sure that you're scraping away equal amounts on each quarter. I'll show you a little bit here. See how it's just coming away? Just scraping quarters at a time, turning it round, making sure it keeps completely even. Alright? You just want to make sure it stays as circular as possible. Don't worry if it doesn't look very neat or tidy, because that's where the sandpaper comes in. Right now, if I was to put in the sticks and everything, put this back together, it would feel horrible, as you can imagine. Every time you go to the edge of the controller, every time you go to the edges of the analog hole, I should say, it's going to feel really rough and it's going to feel tacky, basically. Alright, so we're ready. Now, I purposely made it look pretty rough, just so you can see the difference that the sandpaper makes. Alright. So, give you a good view of it. Just getting the bits and pieces off. There we are. Right. So let's see. I'll try and focus this in a little bit. You have to bear with me. I am on a webcam. Okay, so there's that one there. Focus. It's as close as I can focus. Ah, there we go. So you can see clearly the difference between the left and the right. The right's looking pretty jaggedy. The difference in the thickness and the distance between these two parts probably won't be that noticeable, but it's there, trust me. So, get some sandpaper. P600 is probably the best to use because it's used on plastics primarily, so you will get the smoothest finish out of P600. What I'll usually do is I'll cut out a fresh piece every time, so about that size, then just roll it up. Now if you have like a spare pen lying around or pencil, you can actually wrap it around the pencil, sellotape it down on the inside and just use that to rub it, but I like to just use it this way, just with a flat side to it, and just use my finger. So that's it there. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you are primarily rubbing down the inside. You can focus on the outside and the top layer later, but it's mainly the inside that you want to smooth out. Anyone that's used sandpaper before will probably know the basics, but for those that don't, you want to make sure that you're sanding that way. Couldn't have looked any more perverted. You have to, right, bear with me, you have to sand that way in before GIF and circular, okay? Making sure that you keep an eye on the complete circle and making sure it's even as possible. You want to make it look like an actual sphere, basically. It needs to look circular. Otherwise it's going to feel a little bit weird to use. You might want to get some like towels or anything kind of like to cover the area that you're going to be working on. So it is a little bit messy. Alright. Give it a good blow. Right. And yeah, I think that's as perfect as it's going to get unless I spend like an hour. Yeah, you can get a good view of that actually. On that bit there as well. Really, really smooth. But obviously it gives that extra room for the sticks to move around. So, next step. Once you've done the main circular part of the analog hole, what you need to do after that is smoothen down the top part, because sanding away at the middle part is going to produce these little edges that are going to pop up. So you want to sand those down. Just like so. Essentially, if you look carefully, I'm just sanding down the top. Try and show you. Just sanding down the top layer. You don't want to do it too much, because it will. God, I can't keep a straight face while I'm doing that. It will hinder the overall feel of the controller after you've done it. If you do it way too much and sand down this part here too low, it will affect it in a bad way. So, okie dokie. So I'm pretty much done. The last check before you put it back together is to make sure that the analog sticks themselves aren't going to rub against the casing and cause any kind of like bumps. So I'll try and speak more sense. How can I describe it? When you're moving around the analog stick, when it rubs against the side of the controller, it feels smooth initially because it's a fresh controller. The casing hasn't been modified. But with this one, when you sanded it down and cut it apart with scissors, you want to make sure that it is smooth. So what you need to do is, if you have any nail left on your thumb, just kind of gently push around with your nail, and you'll be able to feel which areas are bumpy and which areas need extra sanding. So if it's completely smooth, which this one is, you don't need to do any more work. Yep, that's smooth. So it's going to feel fine when you put it back together. Now, a side effect with doing this fix is, because the sticks are moving around more than what the wired controller is like supposed to, or the controller in general actually, they can squeak sometimes. It's very rare. I've seen it happen a couple of times on my controllers. I mean, I've done quite a lot. You're talking probably upwards of about 40 or 50 controllers for people. And it only happens a couple of times. From people's thoughts, it is a bit annoying, the squeaking noise, but it can be solved instantly with a blast of WD-40. I think it was Septic that told me that. Or it might have been somebody else. They just blasted it with WD-40 and it was fine. So if it gets really annoying, I mean, it's supposed to stop squeaking after a while. It's just the sticks getting used to the extra kind of distance they have to travel. Eventually they will stop squeaking, but if it doesn't, you can blast it with WD-40 and it'll be fine. So, next step, putting it back together. slightly annoying because you have to get all these little buttons back in. Now you can't accidentally put in, say, the A button in the Y button hole. They all have their individual kind of locks. They won't fit in each other's sections. Guide button is a bit of a fiddle because it moves around a bit. I'll try and show you. This bit here can only lock into place one way. But sometimes when you take it out, it spins round. Oop. And it can't lock back in that way. You just have to make sure it's the right way around. As I said, everything fits into its correct components. And make sure you don't lose that plastic bit either that holds the guide button. Because that is very important. You will not be able to use the guide button without it. That's it. That's all done. Pop these back on. These are your touch pads. Try and show you as they go back on. It's like I said, you'll only see them go on one way. Like they can only fit on one way. My hand just covered that entirely. I'll try a different way. There we go. So you just sit on top of them. Like so. Yep. And let's not forget the D-pad one. That one's fairly obvious as well. It's got a little hole bit there. You can see that part there. It needs to wrap around onto this bit. So I'll try and show you. There. It just sits on. Simple as that. So that's that done. Now I'll quickly show you how to take out the vibe pads. Now this bit here, essentially the circuit board just pops out, but there is the bottom part holding it together. So you need to get that bit off first just by pulling it a little bit. See if I can get it off without breaking it. Yep, there we go. So that bit comes off first. And then this bit pretty much just falls out. Put that there. Now you've probably seen in my other videos I showed how to change the triggers. Well, essentially the vibe pads are located just underneath the triggers, so just plugged into this little bit here. I'll see if I can show you. Get a little close to the camera. Woo! That bit there. These can just pull out. So you just give it a bit of a yank and it's out. And if you want to put them back in, you can. You just plug it back in. It just clicks. Make sure they're fully pressed down, otherwise they won't work. There we go. They're just basically just pinholes, just to conduct the current. So that's that. So if you want no vibe, easy as that. Just pull them out. Easy peasy. Now, getting these buggers back in can be a bit of a hassle. But as long as you just pay attention to the way it was pulled out, you'll be fine. I'll try and show you as I put it back in. But there's no way I can really show you actually. As long as you just line up everything, it's fine. See if I can get this on without breaking it. This is really difficult to do on my knee. Tell you what, I'll just turn around and do it on here. Since you guys can't see anyway. Yeah, and it will click. Just so you know. Alright. So once it's back in, and you've got this bit, don't forget that, clicked on. Make sure the vibe pads are just sitting in the holder like that for now. If you want, you can put them on one side. It might be a bit easier to get this bit back on. It squishes in. That's fine. What you want to do is, this is where it gets a little bit delicate. Before you put the bottom part with the main board on, before you put this back on to this, you need to make sure you've got your shoulder buttons on. and then you just pop back on. Simple as that. Say simple as that. There we are. It's my first time putting one back together like in front of a camera like this. Oh, put my knee up. Right. So I'll see if I can get you a bit better of an angle. That's a little bit better. Okay. So holding this like that, you want to slowly, there we go, it's eventually fixed. I'm going to slowly just place it down. And it's like that. You want to make sure that the vibe pads are going in their respective holders. Same with the other one. Make sure no cables are in the way. And slowly just push it through. There we are. Now if every single bit doesn't click, that's fine. Everything doesn't have to click into place. All you have to do is make sure everything is just seamed up nicely. Okay? There's no gaps. So once that's done, make sure your buttons work. You'll not know fully until you put it back together, of course, but let's do that. If they are clicking, that's fine. Twirl around the joypad just to make sure, or the analog stick I should say, just to make sure that it does feel smooth. If it doesn't feel smooth, or if you feel some bumps, take it apart, give it another sand. Alright. And you just pop it back together. There we are. Sorted. Give it a good test because it will be closer. It's by a hair's breadth that you won't really notice, but when everything is screwed in, the analog stick is going to protrude more. So you want to make sure that it's not catching anything inside the controller. If it is catching anything inside the controller, that means you sanded it too much. So what you might need to do is you might need to buy a new faceplate for the front of the pad. You can get them off places like llama.com, other sites, Amazon, eBay. You just search around. So it's not a lost cause if you fuck this up, okay? Another interesting fact. If by any chance you do know how to open up a controller, you do have the tools to do it, and you want to do it yourself, you can actually keep using this front faceplate for new controllers. I know that sounds like common sense, but a lot of people don't realize that. So, for example, if you try this out, you sand it all down and it's perfect, and you think you've done a brilliant job, you can just keep that front faceplate and use it on other new controllers. So, after about 6 or 7 months of using the wired pad, the analog sticks will become less responsive, they'll become slower, some buttons might break. So all you can do is you can just buy a new pad, £17.99 off Amazon or £21.99 from like eBay, different places. Buy a new pad which has all the different components inside, take it apart, take off the front faceplate, replace it with the one that you modifies, and it'll work perfectly fine, no slow turn. Okay, so hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Good luck on your ventures into fixing your own controller. If you fuck up, not my fault. I've pretty much explained everything. I was laid it out as clear as possible, clear as day. So if you fuck up, don't worry, you can fix it yourself. You can just change the faceplate for another one. But I do recommend trying it on an old pad first. Try it out on an old faceplate. Switch it onto your new pad, see if it fixes it. If it doesn't, sand off a little bit more. But like I said, 2mm to 2.5mm should be enough. Alright? If you enjoyed the video, if it helped in any way, leave a like, subscribe, comment. If you do comment about any problems that you did have, I probably won't reply to you. It's your own fault if you fucked up. You just need to do it again. Keep trying, practice. Practice. But yeah, I mean, gotta get my shots down. I gotta get sick at standing. Fuck. But that's Ben's controller. Sorry, Ben. It's fine. It works. So yeah, that's it. See you later, guys.